Hello and welcome back, everyone, to the whiskaYE podcast. This time, episode 23, following on from our last podcast, which was our first ever special edition. We're back into the usual swing of things, looking at a regular, I suppose, Dram Team box, although that doesn't mean it's not as special as they always are. This week, or this month, I should say, hopeful, always hopeful. The box is called Mortal Kombat, and I will quickly go through the spiel and we'll get straight on. In this box, England and Scotland go to whiskey war as the up-and-coming English Lakes distillery goes head-to-head with long-established Scotch Highlander Tullibardine in an epically tasty bout of Mortal Kombat with a wine cask twist. Who will win? Well, you, of course, and then finish them, which is a Mortal Kombat thing. But I am not a voice actor, nor am I capable of shouting indoors, so you'll not get all good out of that one, I'm afraid. So, yes, it's Three Lakes Distillery whiskies up against Three Tullibardine Distillery whiskies. And so it's quite appropriate for us, one Englishman, one Scot, to be judging these.
Yeah. Should be able to become impartial with our analysis then.
Well, always impartial and professional.
Yeah.
As you all know, all those who are regular listeners will know, we're always both of those things.
Well, I mean,
so,
definitely.
100%.
I think we're fairly impartial unless it comes to, say, Pete or Berry.
I am impartial. I'm the only impartial person when it comes to Pete. Everyone else is bought into the Big Pete conspiracy.
That's that what it is.
Yeah, Big Pete.
I suppose we should also point out before we start that these came in the order of the Three Lakes and the Three Tullibardines, but we've sort of mixed them up to try and pair them. The most similar styles go in Lakes Tullibardine, Lakes Tullibardine, Lakes Tullibardine. So if you are a Dram Team subscriber who also is listening to us, you will be the most specific person in the world. But also,
Congratulations.
when you notice that it's out of order, that's why. So if you're planning on drinking along, you might want to switch it up to, or not pour them in advance, because you'll know what we're going to drink when we tell you what they are.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can't complain if you couldn't keep up. We give you plenty of time between whiskies.
Yeah.
This is not a fast-paced podcast.
That is true.
Our livers can only take so much.
Short form is not for us yet.
No. We do repeat ourselves a lot.
Some plans. Anyway, I suppose it's time to move on to the first whiskey. So, in our order, we've gone for the first whiskey being the Lakes Distillery's The One Orange Wine Cask Finished. So, the spiel here is the Lakes Distillery have built a solid reputation for meticulous attention to detail on both their own recently released single malts and their range of unique high-quality blends. For this blend, they take an extremely small batch of malt and grain Scotch whiskies from Speyside and Islay and pair with their own Lakes Distillery single malt. It's then finished in American oak casks, seasoned with Vino de Naranja, and Andalusian aromatized wine macerated with bitter oranges, incredibly unusual and a heck of a fruit bomb.
I don't think we've ever had anything done in an orange wine cask before.
No.
I don't think I've even heard of orange wine before.
Had we heard of ice wine before we had that?
Fair point.
So,
no, I am not a wine drinker. There's not going to be a wine kai. That's the dangerous word to say. Spin-off channel. Fortunately, I was sober when I tried that one.
Yeah. You could have got that one.
Could have gone very badly wrong.
Badly.
Immediately demonetized, as if we make any money from this.
So on the nose, should be getting fresh lychee, marmalade, and hints of tobacco. I don't know what lychees taste like, uncultured as I am.
I know what. No, okay, I'll revise that. I've heard of a lychee. I think it's a fruit.
Yes, I think it might be. I think I've seen it, although I might be thinking of.
Look like a bit like a pear.
Maybe. I don't know.
Go on,
suppose
make
we
a
could
guess.
Google it.
I've exposed myself as a ignoramus now by
I
not
think
knowing.
gooseberry is what it looks like. I'll Google
You say
it.
say what?
Like a gooseberry.
A gooseberry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a lot closer.
It's like a red gooseberry, strawberry kind of.
Yeah, for some reason I thought.
But
Damn.
yeah. Anyway.
Marmalade. Yeah, and there is a kind of
Little bit tobacco.
harshness, bitterness that I can see the tobacco.
I guess it's that sort of what Chris from the Dram team calls musty sort of smell of the tobacco.
But a bit like bitter, a bit harsher.
Yeah, it's in that
It's in that
genre
of
sense. All right, well, you go in for a taste, and I'll tell you what you should be tasting. You're gonna love it. Gentle peat, followed by tropical fruits and candied orange peel, with a finish that's clean and smooth.
So you don't get the peat until you swallow. If you hold it in your mouth, there's nothing. That is not gentle peat. That is almost non-existent peat. It's very light, and it fades really quick as well.
It's sort of like a Benromac peat.
Yes, but on the middle rather than Benromac kind of is at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fruity. It's definitely fruity.
I must have bit my cheek at some point this week because that stung. But hopefully that'll be the last of that.
Well, it'll deaden the nerves.
Yeah, it is. It does have a very fruity sort of fruit salady kind of flavour to it, like like the fruit cocktail even maybe is what I'm thinking of. The tinned peach syrup with grapes and.
I get where when they say orange peel and that. For me, that's always like the fruitiness, but none of the sweetness.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe yeah.
So yeah, I'll make some notes as I always do. So I can get marmalade, and we'll put kind of mustiness on the nose. Peat. We'll go with light peat. Light peat. Fruit peel. And / tinned fruit salad.
Yeah, it's got it does have a sweetness to it, but it's not like heavily sweet. And also on the second tasting, the peat's even less noticeable.
I thought it was more noticeable.
Oh,
I held it in my mouth the first time and didn't get any, and then I just went straight in for.
Maybe it's because I did the opposite. Yeah, maybe it's like the other flavors are strong enough that they mask it if you hold it in your mouth, but if you just drink it straight down, it's.
Yeah. If you hold it, not much peat. If you go straight back, more peat. So this could actually like if I just hold it in my mouth and drink it, it scores at least 0.5 point higher than if I just straight up drink it. So now I have to go back to all the peated ones and be like, oh, what if I hold them in my mouth?
Oh no, I like them.
yeah. What am I if I don't like peat? That's it.
Yeah,
that's my whole personality.
Yeah, it's a little bit dry, but not as dry as many of the other wine finishes I've tried. But that might just be the style of wine.
Yeah, I'm not getting any tannins on like the inside of my cheeks.
I guess it's potentially slightly desserty with the Vino di Naranja. I don't know
what did they say? What kind of wine it was? An aromatized one.
Yeah.
Sounds like a macerated with bitter oranges. Sounds like a dessert wine, doesn't it? I'm not sure I'd say the finish was clean and smooth. I think that's more of it's lingering a bit more.
It almost is a bit like the tartness comes through a bit, I think, in the finish.
Yeah, I will put that as your comment once it lets me. Tartness comes through in the finish. Okay, scars on the doors. What would you like to give that one?
I would quite enjoy that. I would say probably a 4.
Oh, wow! I'm going in for a 3.
I'm guessing you're giving the marks off for the peat, though.
Yeah, I feel like that. If it tasted like it does when you hold it in your mouth every time, it'd probably be a 3.5.
Yeah,
but
that's fair.
Doesn't. So and I've got to make sure I'm going to the right one on my list because obviously we've changed the order. So we're going to. Should I introduce us to the second one?
Yes.
So this is our first Scotch of the evening, and obviously it's a Tullibardine because they all are. Tullibardine 225 Sauternes, and I looked that up on Google, and I know that's how you pronounce it. Sauternes cask finish. And we'll talk a bit more about Tullibardine later. Founded in 1949, the Tullibardine distillery sits close to the Ochil Hills in the Highlands of Scotland. When new owners took on the distillery in 2011, they breathed new life into it with a range of innovative cask-finished whiskies. We'd say it was working well. The elegant, creamy and sweet single malt was finished in 225-litre Sauternes dessert wine casks, hence the name. So while I open mine up, you should be getting hints of citrusy lime on the nose with vanilla and oatmeal.
Seems like we picked a good pairing there with the citrus.
Yeah, and dessert wines and all that good stuff.
I want to say pears, but it's not really pears.
You're allowed to say pears.
Do
you not get those?
I sort of get the vanilla. I don't know about the oatmeal. Although if you do like a passing, you do get that oatiness coming through.
Yeah, if you put it to the side of your nose, there's definitely an oatiness there, isn't there?
Yeah. Hints. I suppose it does have like a little bit of a acidic.
This one's feeling a lot more grounded than that last one.
I think it might just be that's just what alcohol smells like when, like, it's a little bit stingy.
Yeah, I think that one's quite heavy. There's a little bit of vanilla, but it's quite a heavy smell. It's quite a deep smell.
Yeah,
not a lot of sweetness.
I'm not really getting the citric lime. Is the
no.
thing. Maybe.
No, I don't get citrus from that. Okay, dive in then, and you should be tasting a touch of tropical pineapple and zingy orange zest with a sweet, creamy edge to the finish.
Oh, that's nice.
Do you get pineapple? Do you get orange zest?
I get some kind of tropical fruit. Maybe it is pineapple. A little bit lilty.
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
that's a throwback. Jeez.
Or for.
Do they still make it?
Yeah, I think so. And for those of you who are Aldi fans, Tropical Blast.
We know our market.
Yeah.
No, there's nothing wrong with Aldi.
No, Aldi's an excellent
meat
shop. Yeah, good everything. Really. Plus, they do Bassa fillets frozen. They're really cheap. So.
Are they any good?
Eh?
Are they any good?
Yeah.
Huh.
So
I have to give them a go.
You know, for white fish, it's like reasonably cheap, but
shout out to
really
Aldi.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, there is some. This is like, you know, in the last one you said it was like tinned fruit salad. This reminds me of like tinned fruit. Like
this one's a lot more like that.
Yeah, it's like the syrup.
It's got a sweeter edge to it.
Yeah.
Creamier, I would say. That'll be your finishes with a sweet, creamy edge, probably.
Yeah, it is very creamy.
I just realised that I'd recited what was on the cards without, subconsciously internalising it, I guess.
I'm going to put tropical fruit juice dominates with a very creamy finish.
It's got some legs to it. So.
Yeah, so it does. I can't get over how oaty it smells now that I've smelled it.
Yeah.
Like now that I've picked up on the smell.
Yeah, it was one that was like a stealth oat until you noticed.
But once you've found it,
it's like all those optical illusions that you're like, what even is this? And then when you see it, you're like, oh, I can't not see that now.
I hate those ones that it's two pictures, and you find one and then you find the other. You know, like one's like a wolf's face, one's like a woman or whatever.
Yeah.
And you know they're both there, and you've seen both, but you can't see both at the same time.
Yeah, you can see one or the other, but never both.
Yeah, it's just really weird to me. It's like, but I know it's there. Stupid brain.
Yeah.
This is why, I mean, my brain owes me. When you think about it, I regularly poison it. It should repay me with working better.
That's how it works.
Well, I regularly just like feed it alcohol so it doesn't have to put up with the endless horror that is reality for a little while.
Yeah.
And video games, so I can go into like a better reality, like places where you get paid gold for killing people that don't look like you. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
That much nicer reality. This guy's green and big, and he's got an axe, and he doesn't speak our language, so we probably should kill him.
It's almost like fantasy has some hang-ups that maybe translate as something else.
This is not a political podcast.
Yeah.
Although I will say I would pay good money right now if there's any game developers listening. I'm sick of games with an overarching character arc, story arc, whatever. I want to just be a dude wandering from village to village, getting paid for local problems like, I don't know, pigs have gone missing or some bandits or something like that.
Is that not basically Kingdom Come Deliverance?
Yeah, or like early levels in like a Warcraft or whatever.
Yeah.
Just that.
Before you become an epic hero.
Yeah, I don't need that.
Yeah.
Whereas everything's loads of magic. And give me a couple of NPCs so I can have like a squad, so I can be a warrior, obviously, and have a ranger or whatever. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, and then occasionally, like you'll fight a necromancer in a tomb and there'll be a really cool old ancient sword or shield or whatever.
Yeah.
That's it.
So,
that's all I want.
That's fair. You want to go into scores?
Yeah, let me just finish it.
I just realised we've been talking about video games for 2 minutes, maybe.
I would give that one an easy 3.5.
I mean, I'm probably going to also score it a 4 because
Wow.
I felt it was very similar to the other one, and I enjoyed them both. And I feel like I've not left a lot of room for improvement, but I also liked them a lot, so our scale kind of puts me in a place.
I feel
We've
like at
discussed
some
this.
point we're gonna have to just bite the bullet and go to 10.
Yeah.
Because we don't have a 0 to 5 scale. We have a 3 to 4 scale.
Pretty much, with 3 to 4.5, with 5s on a very rare occurrence,
and 2.5s on a pretty rare occurrence as well.
Yeah, and then 0s for one time.
Yeah.
But
so
we've discussed this. It's that's to come, a more normalized scale.
Yes. We're a work in progress.
Yes.
Yeah, and you get to follow us along on this exciting journey.
Also means that we're basically, it's more or less a tie. The peatiness made it not a tie for you between those two, but if it wasn't for that, it would probably be a tie.
Round 1 is a tie between England and Scotland.
Yeah, I mean.
But to be fair, England cheated by using 2 Scotches in their blend. It's not.
Isn't that the way? It's like all sports where you're Scottish until you're good, and then
Andy Murray was British.
Yeah. Or when you get called up to the England national team and people think might get to go to an actual World Cup, so I'll do that instead.
Yeah. Worth it.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of journeys, is it
Josh's
that time
Journeys
again?
time,
Josh's Journeys time. It is the most professionally named segment in whiskey podcasts. So, I probably gave the game away a little bit earlier, but you might have been expecting, being that I am a proud little Englander, not that kind. Just that was a joke. I'm not actually. Just to get it out there. That I would go to the Lakes Distillery because I have actually been to the Lakes Distillery, and you'd be wrong because I'm going to go to Tullibardine instead. Because
sounds perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, why not? It's more exotic to me because it's further away.
Yeah. Climate not so, but
well, it depends what you mean by exotic. Give it a few more years for global warming to do its thing, and it'll be great.
Oh, that'll ruin whiskey industry.
Yeah. Oh, we need to stop global warming. So, Tullibardine, as we've mentioned on the card previous, is Highland Distillery, and it's located in the village of Blackford, which, according to Google Maps, is just north of Stirling, about halfway to Perth.
I used to live next to Blackford Glen in Edinburgh. Absolutely unrelated, but interesting fact.
Related in name, similar.
Yeah.
So, although the distillery itself only started in 1947, with the first one coming out in 1949, They say in the card it was founded in 1949, but the actual conversion of the building to a distillery was in 1947. And the location that it's built in is an old brewery, and is actually one of Scotland's oldest, with a record of King James IV of Scotland buying beer there in 1488, and following that up with the granting of a royal charter in 1503. So it's an old. There's a lot of tradition of.
It took him 15 years of drinking the beer before he was like, you know what, guys?
He's a busy man. And or maybe they were just crap after 14 years.
Yeah, that's a good harvest.
Yeah. So the distillery is located in that old brewery, and like I say, it was converted in 1947, because the guy who converted it, whose name I didn't write down because that had been too professional, noticed the water from the nearby springs and its unusual high quality, to the point that that's actually the water that Highland Spring started bottling in 1979. So that's, if you get Highland Spring water, that's the water that Tullibardine uses.
That's pretty good. So
there's a little bit of conflicting information on its ownership. As I mentioned on the card previous, it was bought out in 2011 by Picard, which is a French conglomerate, I guess you want to call it.
Alcohol.
Yeah, they own wine, they own whiskey, they own probably some cognac, a couple of other stuff.
I think they own quite a few like vodkas and stuff like that.
Yeah. So in 2011 they bought them out, and in 2013 they formed a subsidiary called Terroir Distillers, which owns Tullibardine and a couple other places. However, the Tullibardine website says that it's a family-owned independent distillery. So I did a bit of digging, and I wasn't able to work out if that's just the fact that the either Picard or Terroir Distillers is family-owned, and they're the only distillery that they own, so technically, or if they've been purchased back recently, given that that was 2013. There's been some other change. I don't know. But the latest I found is that it's owned by that company. It is one of the very few distilleries left in Scotland that distills, ages, and bottles all on the same site. It doesn't ship its whiskey off to somewhere else for storage, like a lot of the big distilleries. Well, a lot of the distilleries do, purely because of space.
Yeah.
You know, you need a lot of warehouse space.
It's expensive to put barrels places for 3 to 30 years.
Yeah, exactly. So generally, you know, they ship them off elsewhere. Under the river in Liverpool is a big one, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Because it's pretty much climate controlled by being under the river. Anyway, Tullibardine has 3 core ranges. The ones we're drinking today are from the Signature range, which is its main range, as you'd expect from the name, with the headline single malt being Sovereign, which is in first fill bourbon barrels and then wine and sherry cask finished. So they're big on the wine finishes. They then have a Marquess, not Marquis like the female version.
Marquess, yeah.
Yeah, range, which is special editions. So they've got things like a Marsala cask finish, a Chateau Neuf de Pape finish, and a couple of cask strength finishes in there as well.
Yeah.
And then they've got something a little bit special, which is called the Custodians Collection, because if you buy one of those, you become a custodian of the distillery and you get a special login on the website and all sorts. Right. And the youngest one in that collection is from 1970, and the oldest is a 60-year-old from 1952. And yes, they are supremely expensive. But they look very nice. You know, they've got very nice fancy bottles.
You wouldn't even open it though, would you? It's like an heirloom at that point. Like,
yeah,
it's probably not even has high value because it's. I was just saying. Sorry, I was just saying it's. You wouldn't even open it. It's probably not even good whiskey at this point. It's just expensive and old. You know.
Yeah, it depends, doesn't it? Because like if you've got a 60-year-old whiskey, it'd have to be some exceptional new make to make it through 60 years in a barrel. Yeah. And not just taste like the barrel.
Yeah.
And it might be, you know, because like when we were at Gordon MacPhail,
they jump it around barrels a lot. You never know.
Yeah, because like when we were at Gordon MacPhail, they had that graph, didn't they, that showed that over time. But some exceptional whiskies can do it.
Yeah.
So that is Tullibardine. And
very interesting.
Another. Go on, sorry.
Did you say they were near Stirling?
Yes, just north of Stirling, about halfway to Perth.
That's commutable from where I live.
Yeah, it's not too far.
When the pandemic is done.
Yeah, not too far from you.
So maybe I'll give it a look.
That was Josh's journeys for this month. Hope you enjoyed.
Yeah.
And we'll see where we're off to next month if you listen again.
Okay. That was thanks for that. That's educational as always.
You're welcome.
Interesting about the ownership being kind of uncertain. But yeah. I guess we should move on to the third whiskey. I've also noticed that I'm doing the English ones and you're doing the Scottish ones. So look at that. No animosity here.
Exactly.
But
that was not planned.
Yeah.
That was just, we're just that good at it. It's natural to us.
Yeah.
Without even thinking about it.
So I guess we go back to the lakes. I mean, the lakes is quite far north. It's basically,
It's close.
But yeah.
You can't have them though. They're nice.
Yeah. So we've got enough,
Yeah. Give us something.
Yeah. So this is the Whiskey Makers Reserve number 3. This is what the Lakes was founded for. Their house style. Sherry-led, single malt whiskey, now sold out. Dram team were lucky enough to get their hands on this batch, especially for the box. Here, the whiskey makers at the Lakes show off their chops. They ferment and distill their single malt slowly and carefully before maturing it in the finest PX, Oloroso, cream sherry, and red wine casks they can get their hands on. English whiskey is really giving Scotch a run for its money here. We'll see. On the nose, you should be getting, if you're ready.
I am.
Aromatic incense, spiced chocolate, and toffee.
Toffee, yeah. Aromatic incense.
I guess that's like kind of like potpourri, but incensey, so smoky-ish.
Yeah. Like joss sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. It's quite spicy.
Yeah, definitely. I guess that's a way to put across the concept of spicy scents. Because a lot of those are like, cinnamon sticks or whatever. Like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not cinnamon sticks, because that's an actual spice. But
I know what you mean, though. I think that's what they're trying to get across. It is quite spicy. Yeah. I'm not sure I get
toffee a little bit.
I get toffee and I get spice. So we'll say, we'll steal Chris's combination and we'll say spiced toffee.
Yeah. Which is a thing, so it's fine. If you want to dive in for a taste.
Yep.
You should be getting on the palate honey, figs, and wood spice with a long, warming, and lingering finish.
That is very spicy. It's quite dry as well.
Oh, you're not wrong. If you hold it in your mouth, it really spices like right along the palate. And then at the end, you can feel the sort of tannininess.
Yeah, I feel it on
your tongue in.
Yeah, I can say I feel it on my lips. My lips are just like.
Yeah. Very nice, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in 2 different types of. It's in 3 types of.
2 types of cream sherry. Yeah.
Pedro Jimenez, Oloroso, and cream sherry, and then it's into the red wine cask, so it's got a lot of finishing in it for something that's not even age statemented. I mean, to be fair,
I'm not sure I get honey.
A couple of months in each, but yeah. What did we work out? What figs are? They're basically like.
I've never had a fig.
A dried fruit.
Yeah. You know what we ought to do? We ought to actually make a list of things that are on tasting notes that we haven't tried and try and actually try them.
Probably.
So
I imagine they're probably like prunes, right?
I've never had prunes neither. I'm not 80.
I've had prunes in porridge.
Any good?
Yeah. Like meteor raisins.
Yeah, that's what always put me off it a little bit. It's like, do I really need a big raisin?
Yeah. I chopped it up. I didn't.
Because I quite like raisins. But I'm not sure I'd want a big raisin. Like a juicy raisin.
Yeah, it's like, how raisins don't really have a lot of meat between the skin?
Yeah.
It's just like if what was there was more of it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I don't.
There's a lot more chewing, I would say. But yeah. I do get some kind of dried fruits. I don't know. Yeah, again, I don't know about honey. It's
Dried
very
fruit,
spicy though. Spicy and dried fruits. It's got a very, very Christmas cakey, but without the sort of toffee that you normally get. I feel like the red wine might have
Christmas, light Christmas flavors. So there's definitely sherry influence in there.
Yeah, but I feel like the spiciness is heavier because I think that might be just because of the dryness, which is probably from the red wine casks.
Yeah, I think the dryness really amplifies it.
Yeah. Again, a very good whiskey though.
It is very nice. But I think I'm a bit spoiled.
Why?
By what we did midweek.
Oh yes, we had the.
Well, you'll find out if you listen to.
We did another live tasting, but we haven't recorded the podcast for that yet because it's a box further down the line. We're a bit behind.
I think we both really liked a couple in there.
We did. I'm trying to be.
Yeah, so am I, but
objective within the box and within our sort of. If I like it, the lowest it can be is a 3, and then depending on how much I like it, it goes up from there. And I really like this one. Have you got any ideas for the score?
I'm debating between 3.5 and 4.
I'm probably going to say this is still a 4 for me.
Another 4.
Yeah,
you're on a roll today.
It's a very good box.
Mind you do like your
wine finishes is like my favorite.
I'll give it a 4 as well. I think that's fair.
I don't think I liked it enough. I liked it probably a little bit more than the first 2, but not enough to go to 4.5. It's not.
I think one of the things I've noticed for myself is I'm really liking like lowland softer whiskies at the moment.
Yeah, and these are quite.
I had like a King's Barnes one that was recommended to me.
Yeah.
And I really liked that one, and I've like that one's like a really typical kind of lowland, really soft, kind of like salt of caramelliness, really nice. And then there's one of the Yorkshire Distillery ones is a Muscatel finish, which is a sherry, but it's a really soft sherry apparently. And I'm a big fan of that at the moment. I think that's just where my tastes lie at the moment.
Yeah, it's fair. Also, we drink a lot of whiskey, so it makes sense that you would move towards a more, easy drinking.
Even my liver shouting at me. We have done quite a lot in quite a short time recently.
Yeah. Just that you're likely to have your fatigue to some extent, where you want something a bit less.
I mean, these are far from bad whiskies. These are very. I mean, I'll just give it a 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a little bit of me craving just a softer one. Anyway, we'll see what the next one is.
Yeah.
From, can you guess?
Tullibardine.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I know. I'll tell you all about it later. Tullibardine 228 Burgundy cask finish. So another one for the wine connoisseurs. So here you go. This time, Tullibardine single malt has been finished in not just any red wine cask, but ex-Pinot Noir barriques from Chateau Chassagne Montrachet, which means something probably to wine people. These casks...
Oh, yes, Burgundy.
Yeah, from one of Burgundy's top producers. It's like you read ahead.
Yeah.
At 228 litres in size, and what gives the whiskey its beautiful deep auburn hue as well as its name. Red wine casks can be overpowering, but when used sparingly as a finish, they can add deep red fruit notes and structure to a whiskey. So on the nose, you should be getting red cherries, vanilla with hints of chocolate and Turkish delight.
My mum might like an interesting nose note. And I sort of get what they mean, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's that sort of fruity jelly and the chocolatiness is there. It's there, but it's not very...
Well, this is the comparison we should be most interested in because it's the 2 single malts.
Yeah.
Well, all the Tullibardines are single malts, just to be clear, but the last one was the only Lake single malt.
Yeah. Is it
chocolatiness to that, isn't there?
Is it an English single malt, or is it? It must be. For it.
Yeah, Lake's. Yeah, they was just about old enough to be putting out single malts. Well, they were just about old enough last year, I think.
Wonder what it would be called if you were to brew, like distill, the whiskey in Scotland, but barrel it in England?
I think it's just a single malt, isn't it? Yeah, because I think a lot of Scotch do barrel it in England.
It's possible. Can't remember what the rules are on.
Because you've made it by that point, haven't you?
Yeah, I suppose. You made it's the new make that really is Scotch before it's whiskey. You know?
Yeah, because otherwise, like, none of the barrels that they use are really Scottish, are they?
This falls into a discussion that was on the tasting we were on about what is organic whiskey and do you need to use organic wine casks?
Yeah.
And so there's not really. But yeah.
No, because I think that the thrust of that one was like organic. The whole point is that you're trying to be as kind to the earth as possible.
And realistically, you're recycling. So
yeah. So there's no point making special organic casks from new kind of wood if there's already a bunch of casks kicking around that you can use.
Yeah. But yeah. So are we ready for a?
Yeah. Sorry, I'll let you jump in instead of waffling on. The palate heaped with red summer fruits and more rich chocolate, like Black Forest Gatto, and the finish, a sweet spice note rounds out the finish.
I actually get what they mean by a Black Forest Gatto on that. It's not very chocolatey, but the chocolatiness is there, and it tastes like, you know, those dark cherries that you get from the Black Forest cherries.
I honestly think Black Forest Gatto is pretty much spot on there. Like,
here's an interesting one for you.
Yes.
I don't like Black Forest Gatto, but I like this whiskey.
No, but I mean, that's a good point, because there's plenty of things. Like, I don't like honey.
And it's often there as a.
But I like a tasting note of honey.
Yeah. I suppose it invokes the idea of that flavour more often than it is that flavour. But that definitely has a very strong, like, it has a heavy dark cherries flavour with, and it is like, it's chocolatiness, but it's not really chocolate. It's like a dark chocolate kind of note in it.
It made me think of, like, you know, if you get a cake, like a chocolate cake, and you get like at the back, like at the top, outer rim, you might get some like ganache.
Yeah.
It's like piped around.
Yeah.
And you eat that. That's what you mean. Like the rest of the cake is not chocolate, but that bit is.
Yeah.
So you get that little hit. Yeah, for some reason that's just what it made me think of.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And that's how tasting notes work in my brain. It's the first thing my brain jumps to.
Yeah, usually that's it. And then if you hunt around, you might get another couple, but that's the one main thing that you take away.
Yeah.
And it does have that spiciness at the end. And I think that's what makes it for me. Like, and it's dry.
It is. It's hard to tell which ones are dry now because they've all been so.
Yeah, like I'm drinking. Like I came into this with a pint of water, and I've had more than half of it, trying to like refresh my mouth, like cleanse my palate, and get my cheeks to be like not just dry from the last whiskey, but never lasts long.
Got a cup of tea that I'm trying to just trying to use. My little tasting note in, but because I'm a little bit tipsy, it takes me a while to type it correctly.
Like, if you breathe in just after you drink it, it tastes chocolatier.
You're aerating it.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you feel for scores with this one?
I really like this one.
I'm going to probably go up to 4.5.
I was thinking 4.5 for this one, to be honest.
Not just in comparison, like that's a whiskey that I would definitely like to get a bottle of.
Yeah.
And in that case, it has to be up in that sort of region of
4.5's all around for that one then.
Yeah.
So, as I take my last sip of my last bit of this whiskey, I believe it's time for the main event.
Talk.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, Whisky Talk, I had to do a bit of a battle with myself because there's really two themes in this box, this Mortal Kombat box. the one that it's named for is obviously the fact that it's a head-to-head of two distilleries, one from England, one from Scotland. And I'd like to go for that one. But also, it's wine finishes predominantly. Not all of them. I think the last one might just be a sherry finish. But there's a lot of wine cask in here, which is my favourite.
And sherry is fortified wine.
Yeah. So, obviously it'd be nice for me as a Scotsman to take the easy win for Scotland, as we don't get them in sports or really
You got one in
ancient
sport
battles. But yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, not often, you know?
I'm going to say, Chris knows you got one in sport recently.
It's a big deal when it happens. You know?
I know, because there's a couple of Scots people in my team and they made me know.
Yeah. But this is a whiskey podcast. And wine cask finishes are some of my favourite whiskies that I have tried and that I've purchased. So I couldn't pass up the chance to talk about that instead. So
You and your tannins.
sorry to my, compatriots.
Sorry, Nicola.
Yeah, it felt like low-hanging fruit to go on about all the ways that Scotland has had whiskey for so long and England's just up and coming and all that stuff.
Well,
I mean, there's so many people in England, they'll probably end up overtaking us, but we'll...
No, it'll be Indie Ref 2. And I was going to make a joke about grapes are low-hanging fruit.
Very good.
Yeah.
So basically for wine casks, from Bordeaux to Champagne and red, white, I don't know of any rosé, but probably rosé. Wine casks have been used to mature whiskey throughout the years, but I think predominantly it's a sort of more and more common, up and coming kind of thing to do. Like, it seems that it's becoming much more predominant. A lot of non-age statement whiskies will be in wine cask finishes, but it is still rare in comparison to, say, bourbon finishes or bourbon maturation or sherry cask maturation. I'm saying finish because a lot of the time it is finish, but I should say maturation. But wine casks, they can give many flavors, because obviously when we say wine casks, how many different types of wine can you name? White, red, no. But depending on the wine in the barrel, depending on the wine the barrel previously held, there can be many notes. Apparently, it's a bit of a minefield, because some of them can kill the flavors of a whiskey, or be in contrast to the whiskey. So there's a bit of a, I suppose it's the blender, master distiller. They have to, I suppose they test and try a lot of different ones for a little bit here and a little bit there, because often, as I said, it is often typically used to finish the whiskey, and that would mean that the whiskey would only really spend the last few months, maybe a year. Some things have been in for 3 years, but usually I think 18 months is about the limit that people will spend, or whiskey will spend in a finish, from my experience of reading about whiskies and drinking whiskies and being on whiskey tours. They usually will be like, this was bourbon cask for 10 years, or not 10 years, we haven't had that much luck, but for bourbon cask for 3 years, and then 18 months in a sherry cask or whatever. But yeah, the main thing is that there are some, not the main thing, there are some whiskies that are spend an entire maturation in wine casks now. So I think there's a 10-year-old Chardonnay cask, Glenmorangie, amongst, I think there might be a Glenmorangie as well. Can't remember what wine it's in. But there's a few distilleries that have been experimenting enough to be confident that they can spend the entire maturation in wine casks. And that seems pretty interesting to me. The wines tend to have higher tannins, as you've already alluded to. Well, not the wines. The wine casks tend to impart tannins to whiskey.
which gives it its dryness.
I feel like I'm rambling a bit, but I have had 4 whiskies.
No, you're pretty good so far.
Yeah. But so that's why I like it, because I like the dryness, the feeling of your face being sucked out a little bit. But I suppose the question is, why would you use wine casks? Which could be for maybe, I'd say there's 2 reasons. One is that it gives the opportunity to impart all of these interesting and different flavors. But I would say the more likely reason alludes back to a previous Whisky Talk, in that sherry casks aren't really that easy to get hold of anymore. So if you're looking for an interesting finish and you've not got any PX casks or Oloroso casks just lying around, because they cost thousands and thousands of pounds and rarely ever come on the market, you can just go to any wine distillery in France and they've probably got hundreds of wine casks. Or I say France,
I think they call them vineyards, don't they?
yeah. Did I say wine distilleries?
Yeah.
I meant vineyards.
Yeah.
And then when I said
like
France, and I meant the world, because there's obviously California.
Only
Australia,
France makes wine in the
South
wine
Africa.
distilleries.
Yeah. Spain, Italy, even the UK, I think.
I wonder if there's a good crossover between like wine drinkers and whiskey drinkers as well. So maybe that's it's a good marketing thing.
Possibly. I mean, there's obviously, our esteemed guide Gordon MacPhail was previously from the wine industry, and I think
you can't go a single podcast without mentioning it, can you?
I think that's quite a big crossover. There's a lot of people who work in wine end up in whiskey, or vice versa, because there's similarities to.
It kind of feels like, and this might just because they're the only 2 that I've really been exposed to, but they're the 2 kind of alcohols that take themselves as a business unto themselves. Like wine is obviously super serious.
Yeah.
And so is whiskey.
Yeah.
And the others
sort of
less
seem
so.
to be more about the art and the science rather than just make something to get people drunk.
Yeah, and I'm sure, if you're big into your vodkas or your gins or your beers or your ciders, you disagree and you say, no, well, it's the same.
I would say beers definitely are in that, but I think the level of tinkering.
I think beers is too big. That's the thing. There's there'll be some areas in beers, but there's so many beers.
There's also lager. World.
Yeah, not wrong with a Stella.
I wasn't going to say any brands, but there's mass production in beer.
Yeah, I don't know if I could drink a Stella nowadays. Am I still a northerner if I can't drink Stella?
I can probably chuck one, but a Tennent's for me, obviously, as a Scotsman, I can still throw back. But
as long as it's not your first pint.
I mean, on a hot day, it's all right.
Yeah, fair.
But
let's not be snobbish.
Yeah. I personally would probably go for a pale or an IPA at that point, but
on a hot day. Yeah. I can say they're not my favourite kind of beers, an IPA or pale, but on a hot day. Yeah. Or wheat beer.
Yeah, wheat beer or of ice or.
Yeah, I like wheat beer.
Anyway, less about beer. I suppose we should move on to the next whiskey.
Hey, we're a multi-alcohol.
We're an alcoholics podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So this is whiskey number 5 then. Yep. I think it's over to you again.
It is. Back to the lakes, surprisingly. It's almost like there's 2 distilleries in this, and we've.
Who knows where we'll go next?
Yeah. This is another one of the lakes, the One series, but this is a port cask finished. Aptly titled The One Port Cask Finished. One reason tasting flights are great is to pit 2 similar whiskies head to head and see the differences clearly, says the card. This Lakes Distillery whiskey starts with very similar base whiskey blend to the orange wine expression. That's interesting. But is aged instead in first fill, tawny, and ruby port casks. It's a fascinating experience to see how these 2 very different cask finishes have influenced the whiskey in such dramatic and delicious ways. And that's what, when I was talking about the wine cask, is that when it's a finish, usually it's only a short period. You'll have a lot of the time you'll have what could be sold as whiskey that's just been in bourbon casks usually for the whole time, and then to make the whiskey different to give it its own character, you'll finish it for 6 months, 8
Yeah,
months.
I think depending on who you ask, depends on the level of wood influence. I mean, I know Tully Barden's website says up 70%, but I don't think anyone disagrees that it's probably the major contributor.
Yeah, and that means that you can at least tweak your whiskey to have it have a specific character with a small amount of time in the fancy casks. But yeah, on the nose for this one anyway, you should be getting fresh cherries, candied ginger, and toasted oak.
So it's kind of spicy. So ginger, fair enough. Yeah, there's some woodiness there.
Is it toasted though? I guess this will have a little bit of a peat influence if it's
similar to yeah.
Cherries, I'm not so sure. Wait a minute.
But it said that the last one, the one, had an Islay in it, didn't it? So that'll be where the peat comes from.
Oh, is that? Well, it says though that this one, it starts with a very similar base whiskey blend.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So if there's an Islay in there, it's going to be peat. So I would go with woodiness and spice on the nose. I'm still not confident enough to say what kind of spice yet, so I'm not going to say ginger or cinnamon or clove or whatever.
I'd say I don't know if it's ginger, but yeah, it's spicy.
Right, I'm going in.
Ginger even a spice? It's more of a.
It's not a herb.
Yeah, it's like it's in the realms of garlic, isn't it? It's just an ingredient. But
yeah.
Okay, on the palate, you should be getting plum, rose petals, and chocolate with a rich, lingering, and spicy finish. And as much as some people would say, how the hell are you supposed to know what rose petals taste like? I ate a rose once. So, tastes like perfumed lettuce.
Well, if you ever had rose water, that's tasted flavoured with it, isn't it?
Like perfumed lettuce, perfumed water.
Yeah.
Oh, that one's peatier.
There's some peat in it, yeah.
It's very spicy when you breathe in.
It's very spicy on the finish.
Oh, it's nice though.
It is. I put mild peat, very spicy finish.
They put chocolate on just about all of these, and I'm just not getting it.
I think I've got mild on some, but yeah, not a lot. This one's like the widest mouthfeel out of the bunch. It's quite creamy again.
I think a lot of the time it's the creaminess that makes people put chocolate.
Yeah, maybe.
Because it's like that, the feeling in your mouth, like, you know, if you, like, say you take a bit of dairy milk and you just leave it on your tongue.
Let it melt.
And it, yeah.
Yeah, probably. That. It's just making me want to have some Nutella now. I do that every time I have whiskey. I end up getting bread and Nutella.
Oh.
Can't help myself.
I'm
not the only person.
We've got crunchy Biscoff spread.
Oh, very nice. I'm not the only person that alcohol makes hungry, though.
No, that's like a major thing. But most people end up going for something greasy, like a kebab. But
yeah, I always crave something sweet.
What are you thinking about this one?
So I've put woodiness and spice on the nose, mild peat, very spicy finish, quite creamy.
Yeah.
In terms of score, I prefer that to the original one, so I'll go with 3.5.
I actually don't know that I do, but I don't know that. I feel like I'm getting swayed. I feel like I'm getting pushed down by the previous whiskey, but I want to give this a 3.5 as well.
Okay. 3.5s all around.
Yeah. It feels fair to me. I still like it, but I don't think I've liked it as much as the other ones.
Yeah, I preferred that one to the first. It felt less peated.
Maybe. Okay. I think it. Again, I feel like it was if you held it in your mouth. It was. I feel like that one was if you held it in your mouth, it was more peaty when you swallowed it, and if you drank it quickly, it was less peaty.
I think creaminess always beats peatiness, if you know what I mean. Tamps it down.
That's fair.
Right.
Time for the
pièce de résistance.
I was going to say the exact same thing.
Bit of French because it's a wine finish.
Yeah.
Wine finish day.
Pièce de resistance.
Piece of resistance.
Yeah.
Here we go. We speak Francais.
Yeah.
Je
Parlez-vous
voudrais.
French?
Yeah. Je voudrais un cuppa. Right.
This one as well being the one that doesn't have a wine finish.
It's sherry, and sherry's
sherry, which
fortified wine, so it's just strong wine.
which makes it better, obviously.
Yes. So, obviously, this is Tullibardine, and this is Tullibardine aged 25 years.
Almost as old as you and I.
Or older, who knows?
Yeah.
25 years is a long time to spend in a sherry cask. Depends what you ask. In fact, 25 years is only the minimum age of this single malt. Some of the whiskey in here is supposedly even older. Tullibardine have used a mix of first and second fill ex-sherry hogsheads for this well-aged malt, which has enabled the whiskey to gain luscious cooked fruit notes, toffee, and richness without over-extracting the oak. A wonderfully balanced and elegant dram. You wouldn't want to finish this. That was my Mortal Kombat announcer voice.
Finish him.
Yeah, that's better. That's why I am the sound effects and you're the voice actor.
Fatality.
All right, don't show off. The nose, refined aromas, which is the only aromas we take.
Yeah.
A subtle French vanilla, toffee, and orange chocolate. They get more pretentious as they go.
What? I don't even know what the difference between French vanilla and normal vanilla is. I'm not gonna lie.
One's got a mustache.
Right. I
One tries to
apologize.
seduce your wife.
It was too easy. The Pepe Le Pew jokes.
I mean,
the only thing.
I mean, you should be on their side. You're
Yeah.
part of the All Alliance. I should be the one who's against them. Like all of my country's best victories are against them.
Yeah, you can tell. Like when I smell this, it has that old smell to it, though.
It does have an old smell to it, yeah.
Like it smells like old books.
I think we're going to say it smells like a wine cellar.
Yeah.
Not that I've ever been in a wine cellar.
I have. I've been in the Henry VIII wine cellar under Modern Main Building.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I forgot that was there.
Anyway, it smells like an old wine cellar.
It does. It smells like an old wine cellar. So the palette you should be getting is an incredibly viscous quality, coats the mouth, bringing flavours of baked banana, orange peel, and honey.
Mm.
You sound like you're enjoying it.
It is very creamy. I'm surprised at that for the age, to be honest.
Yeah, you'd expect it to become dominated by the wood flavours. Sorry, I'm just making a couple of notes.
My closest way to know what a baked banana would taste like, I suppose it'd be on a banoffee pie, but more likely it's going to be a banana fritter, right? Fried, Scottish. And it does have something like, it's the creaminess, but with that slight fruitiness in it.
It is very creamy.
Yeah.
So the finish should be layered, creamy finish with marmalade and strawberry jam. It is very, very creamy.
It has that background, like when it first hits your tongue, it tastes old.
Yes.
But then the flavors come in, and then
I'm going to put tastes old, but in a good way.
Yeah.
Well aged.
It has got a tartness in there, like.
Yeah, there's
jamminess. I don't know if it's sweet enough to be marmalade or strawberry jam, but it's creamy, so it's like. Yeah. Also, if I was saying something was layered, creamy with a strawberry jam, I would be like, oh, it tastes like a, Devonshire or a Cornish scone.
Scone. Fancy said.
What would you say, like?
Scone.
Well, but see, scone is a posh pronunciation, in my opinion.
No, scone is a posh pronunciation. Anyway, do you want to give this one a score?
I think I'm struggling. I'm between a 3.5 and a 4 on it.
I've gone 4.
I feel like it has to be a 4 given the rest of the box.
Yeah, I've gone 4.
But I feel like there's a lot in this box that was probably better than it, but not a lot better than it.
Yeah,
but given that it's taken 25 years to make that, and everything else is NAS, you know.
It's like, step up your game, lads.
Yeah. But that's the risk you take, I feel like, with old whiskies.
Yeah, it is. That's why they only ever do like 1 or 2 casks for that age.
Yeah.
Can't afford to open it up after 25 years and be like, great, we've ruined his entire production.
Yeah.
So, but still very nice. I mean, that's one of his highest scoring overall boxes, I think.
I mean, it was very good. I mean, I'm not surprised. I love wine casks.
Yeah, you've had one that came in below a 4.
Yeah.
And that was the port cask.
Like, I like the it's the sensation. It's like that one that danced around the mouth. It had an interesting sensation.
The sour mash. The mix is sour mash.
Yeah, more so than it was. Like, the flavor is one part of it, the sensation is another part. You know, like, of drinking whiskey, in my opinion, when you're drinking it neat, not cocktails. Obviously, when you get to cocktails, you lose a lot of the impact of just drinking drams.
Yes.
But I think it was a really good box. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
For doing
as always.
a wine cask themed box and making it Scottish and English so that we can have loads of banter about that.
That was a very good box as always.
Yes. And
we've reached the end of another whiskaye podcast. So thank you everyone for listening.
Hopefully next time we'll maybe have some social media set up.
Yes, it might.
So
happen.
that you can actually, rather than just a old blog page that we used to update with the videos, but I don't think either of us has been keeping on top of on WordPress. Nope. Yeah, we'll actually have modern thing. Who needs a website when you've got Twitter and Instagram?
Yes, so David here is committing to 1 TikTok a week.
Yeah.
Advertising our podcast through the medium of modern dance.
Yeah, well, that's all TikTok is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Although, is it really allowed to advertise whiskey on TikTok? I thought it was all like 13-year-olds.
Yeah, but they got the parents' credit card.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. On that wholesome note.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for listening as always, and we will see you next time.
Yep.
Cheerio. Bye.